Espresso for here, Valade to go.
Come on.
That's a good order.
That's cracked.
That's a good order. You are set up for the day.
That's what I'm saying. Ross, how do you make the perfect coffee cocktail?
Oh boy, we're about to talk about that. It's all about balance, sourcing, execution, but most of all, fun. That's what this episode's about today. Seasonal menus in coffee shops, right? You hate them, you love them. You go to a coffee shop just for the seasonal menu. But if you're making your own seasonal menu at your coffee shop, where do you start? The possibilities are endless. There's so many different things you could buy, so many different directions you could go. So we talk about how we navigate that. Some of our favorite drinks over the years that we've done. Man, we've probably done dozens, maybe even dozens.
About 5 a year.
Yeah, at this point. So it's been great. And I had a great time talking about it with you.
Yeah, man. And, this podcast wouldn't be rolling without the help of some of our friends.
That's right.
Some of those friends like Localize at localizegrowth.com/valor.
SEO experts.
Special SEO episode coming soon.
Yeah.
With Kent from Localize, where he's going to rip up some websites.
Yes.
And show us what's really going on in the back end. How easy is it to find your website, whether that's coffee shop, coffee catering, but just where you rank on that, on where you show up on the Google page, on the Bing page, whatever.
Yeah, Bing.
Bing, where you at? These guys help you out. And so they got a lot of ways that they can do that. Are they still doing the backlink promo?
I believe so.
What's that about?
They're offering a free backlink.
$800 value.
Just schedule a call with them. But I think the power of that is getting on the phone with them and just getting like a state of affairs on your website. One of the things that they're doing, he mentioned this SEO podcast where we went on our VCC, Valor Coffee community. It's our online community where everyone that listens to the podcast can connect, different people in the industry. I went on there and said, hey, do you want your website ripped to shreds? Well, send me a DM of your website. We'll talk about it on the podcast. Ken's going to live react. Cool thing about it is he and our team here are making an SEO course that we're going to put on the community. Ooh. How to dial in your website and get it actually speaking Google well. And so it's really conveying your brand from a creative standpoint, but it's also showing up in the dang search engine.
And how do they get in touch with Localize?
Well, localizegrowth.com/valor. That's how. Go there. You'll see the clear options of what to do from there. But hey, what a great day to record a podcast. Let's jump into it.
Let's go.
We are so back at Valor Coffee Podcast Enterprises here in the global headquarters in undisclosed location, Georgia.
Catch us if you can.
How you feeling, Ethan?
Feel good, man. We both got the butter yellow memo.
Yeah.
If you're not watching this on YouTube, feel free to hop over to youtube.com, search Valor Coffee in the search link, and watch one of these on YouTube.
Yeah.
Do you ever watch this on YouTube?
I only watch it on YouTube because I have to rewatch every podcast
for growth.
It really helps me grow. No, I'm sure it does. I have to rewatch it to harvest the reels to post on Instagram.
Good.
So I have the opportunity to do that.
Hey man, we've kind of been doing this you and me pod a little bit this past month. It's been nice. We're missing our guy Riley.
Yep.
Hoping he feels better,
Pour one out.
Hey, wherever you are,
Prayers up.
Pour one out for our boy. Dude, anything we want to get into before we just start absolutely chopping up this meat and potato?
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a passion project of a topic today.
Something that's been thrown around for some are saying years.
I mean, this is usually when we talk about like how our sports are going.
Right. Well, you could tell everybody about your new game that you made up.
Yeah, I found out about a new game.
It's called basketball.
Well, I've got a couple guys that are really into basketball. And I guess this could be like a legit call out to them, like on air, because I have my own podcast. I can say whatever I want.
And you can call out anyone else that wants to join your movement.
Yes, that's such a great idea. Okay, so last night I was shooting hoops, right?
Right.
And I usually do this drill where I have to make a 3-pointer, and then that allows me to move on to a layup which allows me to move on to a mid-range jumper. That's one round, and you have to make the shot to move on to the next shot. And so I try to go as fast as I can, because it's like I'm simulating a game where you're like tired and winded, but you still have to shoot and make the shot. And so what I usually do, but I thought, it'd be fun if I timed myself, and I kind of like made rules with this. So I landed on the following. I press record. It's a video. And
are you like videoing yourself?
I set it up kind of behind me, so you like get a view of the court and like all the different shots.
Maybe that link's gonna end up in the bio. That'd be
maybe I could put that link in the bio. But so the clock starts with an attempted free throw. Notice I said attempted, not made. So you attempt a free throw, and then but you have to make that free throw to move on to the next thing,
okay.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And so then you go, 3-pointer, layup, mid-range jumper, 5 rounds of that 3-shot sequence.
Right.
And then you end the whole game with a made free throw. That stops your time.
Yep.
And so I thought, it'd be fun if I took a video of that, timed myself, and sent a little challenge out to Jared Truby from Cat and Cloud, friend of the program.
Shoo.
We talked about basketball on our podcast that we did together, maybe not a year, maybe months back. And then Timmy, also a friend of the program, barista at Elliott Cafe, also a hooper, sent it to him, didn't respond.
Awkward.
Maybe he will by the time this podcast releases. I would hope.
That's right.
So anybody else out there in podcast Valor Kingdom land, if you like to hoop, let's see if you can get a better time than me, minute 37.
Maybe is this a barroom conversation on the Valor community?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, hit us with your times. Do you want to?
I need video proof too, 100%.
Oh, you serious?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to take a video, because that's part of the community aspect of it.
Just watching the game.
Yeah, you got to watch it, and we're all sending videos to each other. It's chill. It's no big deal. It's fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe
but at minute 37, good luck.
How many shots did you miss?
I caught fire from 3.
Okay.
But if you start missing 3-pointers, it really devolves quickly.
Right. Because you're like, that ball can fly.
You're chasing the ball.
It's chasing the ball.
It's nothing. So,
man. Okay. Well, thank you for that.
So are you going to join as well? I know you're starting to hoop.
Yeah. I just got to see if my Google Pixel can take a video like that. Could go for 30 minutes. That's probably maybe
get an external hard drive.
Yeah, get a hard drive for how long
you
that
could
might
steal
take.
one of these cameras and take it home.
Well, because also I'll probably be, if I'm going to do it, I do it from my house. And unfortunately, Mountain Park basketball area has a double rim. So maybe there could be like a caveat, like, hey, 5 minutes, 50 seconds. Double rim.
That gives you like a penalty.
A little like handicap.
Yeah, handicap. That's the word.
Yeah, the spring rim would give you the penalty.
Sure.
So,
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, how is that related to a coffee podcast? I'm not sure, but
we're on the coffee podcast.
Yeah.
I think there's always a little space for personal anecdotes. So,
absolutely.
So thank you for that.
Did you have any personal anecdotes, or?
I mean, I talk about Frisbee all the time. I had a good time today. We got handed to. I'll say that much. I was a captain. I picked friends and family over skill, or just freshness. Mm-hmm. Like people that have been, it's just, if you play basketball every day, you're going to be better than the guy that just shows up.
Yeah,
who maybe played for a long time.
Thank you for putting it in terms I understand.
Right, and Frisbee is exactly the same way.
Exactly.
If you if you don't play, you don't stay hot. So we were a little cold today, little mistakes, me included. Okay. I'll be the first one to say I made mistakes today.
Yeah. But you probably balled out too. And you're probably,
I had some good throws.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I got body checked by Mr. Rogers per usual.
Ooh.
But it was fun.
That's nice.
I did not get hurt.
Did you kind of bounce on the turf, or was it more just like an impact?
It was just like an impact. And I totally fell on the ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the turf is unforgiving.
No, it absolutely is. Those rubber pellets, they're basically just like concrete.
It's concrete.
What an awesome opportunity to have a podcast today, right? And we have a scintillating topic, and it is seasonal menus.
Seasonal menus
at coffee shops.
At coffee shops.
Lots of chatter going around. You know, like if you go and visit a coffee shop, chances are you're going to hear people talking about, like, did you see their seasonal menu? Did you see that? Now, listen, I'm not that guy.
Really?
Okay. Call me a coffee purist.
Okay.
But I take my coffee black.
No cream, no sugar, no nothing.
Okay. I throw a little stevia in there. Okay.
No almond milk.
But I'm not the guy that's going to go to a coffee shop for a seasonal menu.
I heard you guys released the new seasonal menu.
Right. But so many people do. And I know you know that.
I
from
do know
being
that.
in the cafe.
That's right.
Care to comment?
Yeah, that's the thing is people come. Honestly, man, like if we post on IG, like, hey, new seasonal menu. It's basically marketing, right? It's just
basically marketing.
You're getting in people's face. You're like, hey, remember us? You know, because you got different types of clientele in a coffee shop. You got your daily drivers, and then you got the people that are like, there's a large swath of people that make a choice every day. What are they going to do? Where are they going to go?
Yep.
Oh, Valor's got a new menu.
Right.
Let's go see what that's about.
It makes sense. And, I think I know you're not on Instagram, and I'm mostly not on Instagram, but when I get on and I check out all the coffee shops, they're always posting about their seasonal menus.
Like, check out this drink.
Yes. And the thing is, it has to be a very it's just, and we do it too. It has to be like a crazy photo shoot with smoke everywhere, and
fireworks.
It's beautiful. It's a really cool way to to put some respect on your craft, to have a baller photo shoot to go with your seasonal menu.
Yeah, we've only been doing it for, probably since the cafe opened in 2019. But the way that we kind of want to have a little bit more of a media presence and posting drinks, it does have me thinking like, okay, how do I not just make this drink taste good? How do I make it look good?
Right. Presentation matters. Hot take.
So maybe I went on a cold foam kick, right?
Sure.
After somewhere in the 2022, 2023 era, we were like, all right, we're gonna mess around with cold foam on drinks. And then, when it comes to like a multi-layered drink, people love that. But and that's all to say, not only are people doing that, there's a large group of people that are, they're making the seasonal menu, but what do you see unique drinks on there? Are you seeing what maybe things used to be in my mind was like a coffee shop seasonal menu was really just like maybe 1, 2, or 3 syrups.
Yeah.
And then you put them in lattes.
Sure.
And maybe there's a garnish.
You got your mocha, you got your caramel, but then you mix them together. You got a
turtle mocha.
That's
right.
Sig Bev.
Sig Bev, baby. What qualifies as a Sig Bev?
Yeah, well, I think of two different sources when it comes here. One is just the craft cocktail movement in the West.
What's that?
Just how craft cocktail bars have they are their own thing, where it's like you go somewhere, you get a fancy cocktail, that they are really into that craft, right? And what those places have done is they've just elevated cocktails in restaurants, normal restaurants, right? Like if a restaurant doesn't have like a good cocktail program, then they're not a good restaurant. And in some people's eyes, some would say.
Thank you.
There's just different types of restaurants. Okay. Stay with me, guys. Stay with me. Obviously, we're not going to expect like a Cuban sandwich bar to have a great cocktail program, but you get the point I'm making. If you're
Marlowe's Tavern, maybe.
If you're going to a nice restaurant out in dinner, you expect them to have a good cocktail program, just because that's just how it is now. That's one source of a lot of these seasonal menus that have popped up. The other thing is barista competitions.
Right.
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 I feel like barista competitions have fallen out of the spotlight to some degree. Just in our career, I feel like in the beginning, when we were first starting out in coffee, like 9-10 years ago, it was a lot more in the conversation, probably just because the specialty coffee industry was even smaller at that point. And so the people that were in the specialty coffee industry were like mega nerds about specialty coffee. And so, yeah, it makes sense that they would compete and do these things. But now you just have more common people like us starting coffee shops that like didn't start in the competition world.
Right.
But a part of World Barista Championship, part of USBC, US Barista Championship, is, you have different iterations of coffee that you present, but one of them is a Sig Bev, signature beverage. Okay.
Keep up.
I think that phenomenon at those championships, at those competitions, has contributed a lot to like the genesis of seasonal menus in coffee shops.
I was just looking through some of the Sig Bevs of World Barista Champions, and they're kind of crazy. They're not pumpkin spice lattes, Ross.
Sure.
They're a little bit more complex.
Yeah.
Man, they were doing a coffee, like a geisha coffee, and then they'd use a honey that was made by bees that pollinated with geisha blossoms.
Oh, that's so cool.
And they were making teas with the geisha flowers. So it really told a cohesive narrative. I was like, okay. They were making ice cubes with a honey water made from that honey. I was like, dang, these guys they're legit. They're doing some really forward thinking stuff. And maybe that's one side of the spectrum where it's like, how in the world I'm Joe Schmo. How am I going to pull that off in a coffee shop?
Right.
My little thing. And then you got like, well, just get the new release from Monin and call that a seasonal menu.
Sure.
So when you're thinking about like, I have a seasonal menu, I want to upgrade my seasonal menu, or like I want to get into it, there's kind of a really large spectrum you can play with, right? And then how high volume is your shop? How much do you need to rely on systems and batching and like back end? And that's a big part of our journey, especially 2 cafes, some of the busiest coffee shops in the world over here.
Absolutely.
But we're always like, okay, how do we like source something that we can buy again and again and again and again? Because sometimes something about a seasonal menu is seasonality. And so when you want to buy something and it's like, okay, how do I get this? Like, how do I order this 12 more times and it's going to be similar? That can be tricky too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to play with, and we've kind of developed over the years, and maybe we can kind of reflect on some drinks that we like. We don't have like the system of all systems, I'd say that, but we do have this like structure as far as, we want to have a fun tea drink. We want to have a fun matcha drink. Right. We want to highlight one of our new coffees. We want to have a more of like an espresso based drink, and kind of have this like menu for anybody to jump in. It's not just all one thing.
Yeah. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you're like, man, I didn't even know that there was a competition for baristas. That's crazy. There's a really good documentary called Barista, released in 2015. And it follows 5 top baristas as they prepare for the 2013 United States Barista Championship. Did you watch that? You remember that?
I did watch it. Yeah.
It's really cool. And it's
cool.
Actually available for streaming on Amazon Prime Video.
Link in bio.
But yeah, I wish we could affiliate for that. But check that out and you'll see their Sig Bevs and like how they're like distilling stuff. And, you've got that like top level of drink preparation. But to your point, how can we make something that we can actually sell? And you can't sell something that you can't sell something that you can't make it scale in this situation for this purpose. And especially across a whole team of different skill levels and speeds and all that.
Yeah, maybe a side note on that, Riley's been really into clarifying cocktails.
Sure.
And I've been trying to, recreate some clarified drinks in the cafe. it takes time,
Yeah.
especially if you're trying to do it right. I made a clarified tea drink, which is like also called like fat washing, which is a really funny term, but basically using an acid to separate the milk solids out of like a dairy product. So you are left with a like transparent but creamy drink. But I mean, it's really good, but in a high volume cafe, I don't know. We have to do it here.
Right. So what if we break it down this way? When it comes to making a seasonal menu, right? The world is your oyster. Like,
what do you want to do?
The possibilities are endless. There's no end to what you could do. So we don't want to have, analysis paralysis. So how do we start? And I think my brain kind of goes in two different directions here that I think could be helpful. When we make seasonal menus, we've been doing it for a while now. And so now we have archetypes,
right?
Almost like sort of like our coffee menu, how we source coffee. We have different color packaging. Red box is always a fruity coffee. Pink box is always a floral coffee, and so on. And so it helps us source coffee from all of the endless options in the world. We're like, okay, we at least are going to narrow it down to this flavor profile. Mm-hmm. And that flavor profile is going to serve this specific purpose. Mm-hmm. And we want to make sure that, that the menu has balance. Like if, for example, in the summertime, if we had all hot drinks on the seasonal menu, I mean, that would just be misguided, right? So like
in big trouble.
We'd kind of get in trouble there. So what are some of these archetypes in your mind? Like when on our seasonal menus, what are the main categories that we've done?
Thank you, Ross. This would be a great time to give a big shout out to a friend of the program. And that friend is called Cold Brew Concentrate. We were really limited in our drink creation because me, Ross, and Riley, kind of the whole reason we started Valor was we had this shared disdain for espresso drinks that have like sugar in them. Like, and it's usually when they're not like creamy, but because espresso is just kind of a volatile guy when it comes to making drinks. And so let me just say, if you're wanting to make like broaden your menu, Cold Brew Concentrate has been a real gift.
It's more simple by design.
It's almost like an ingredient.
As an ingredient in a cocktail. Yeah.
That's right. So yeah, it is hard with the seasons, especially being in Georgia. We experience some seasons. I would say it's a lot easier to make cold drinks. If we're pulling from cocktail inspiration.
Yeah.
We did do a matcha toddy over the winter. That was really nice. And just doing like seasonal syrupy lattes with a little extra flair is always something. But tea is just really fun to play with when it comes to seasonal drinks. And so I feel like we're always trying to highlight like a fun tea drink, whether that is creamy or not.
So far you've got some sort of tea drink. I would even say, I feel like we honestly do some type of matcha drink as well. Yeah. You just at least a drink that has matcha. That's a whole category for you.
Honestly, I think so. Like matcha is so beloved in our area, and I'm sure yours too. Mm-hmm. That having like a fun matcha drink is a treat. Now, a saving grace a lot of times if you're not checking all your boxes is, does your seasonal syrup play nice with other stuff? Like I knew it was a mistake, and this is a sourcing thing. We have a really, really simple drink that's just called the Matcha Rose Garden, which is a matcha poured over like a all botanical brewed rose lemonade from the UK. And one of our local distributors has it, and they always run out. And I was like,
that lemonade,
they always run out. Yeah,
wow.
we start ordering it for like a drink, and they're like, "Oh, we're out." And so we don't have like a matcha drink on the menu right now, but our seasonal syrup is an orange blossom syrup, and so anybody knows to get a matcha orange blossom latte.
Sure.
Anyway, so yeah, we try to have a tea drink, a matcha drink,
which matcha is tea, but when you say tea drink, you're like
a loose leaf tea drink. Yeah. Yeah. Whether that's tea as an ingredient. Like right now we have one of my favorite drinks is called the Lovely Day, which is, we brew up iced white tea in like a batch, like a 1 gallon batch. And then it's just yuzu, agave mixed together, and then prep that way so that the agave can like break down and it's easier to mix into your drink. And then, lime leaf, we smack it, rub it on the straw or like the lip of wherever it is and put it in the drink. It's wonderful.
Wow.
A wonderful drink. Yeah. Simple, but you got a little sweet, you got a little acid, you got a little like herb, and you got the tea. And
put a pin in that.
Yeah. Put a pin in that.
How did you even come about that mixture of factors? Right. We'll come back to that, but continue. So you've got tea, matcha, and then you mentioned seasonal syrup. We don't have that as a item on the menu, but it is like at the bottom, right?
It's at the bottom because it's so plug and play.
Right. You can put it in anything.
We don't want to, box that in. Be like, get the orange blossom latte.
Yeah.
But it's like,
you say seasonal syrup at the bottom, orange blossom syrup.
Yeah. Put it in cold brew, put it in your tea, put it in your drip, whatever.
Okay. So what else? What are some other prototypes or archetypes rather?
Right now, we really do like a coffee sparkling situation pretty much all the time. And so right now that's the not espresso tonic. I'm kind of an espresso tonic hater. Oh, I'm sorry. I can hear the booze from here. I'm sorry. And so Paul on staff loves, I don't know if he loves, but he likes that kind of stuff.
He's obsessed.
Yeah. Like the only thing he talks about, but he was like, hey, I made a drink that is like an espresso tonic, but it's not. Believe it or not, and I'm embarrassed, but the combo of yuzu and agave just stole my heart this little round. Oh, I'm sorry. And so it's cold brew concentrate, which kind of plays the not espresso part, which is nice. Cold brew concentrate, yuzu, agave, and then we have these really nice Bab and Louie non-alcoholic bitters.
Nice.
And so they're orange bitters, and it's like a good 5 dashes on the top. Once again, not that much stuff, but and then that's all in sparkling water. And so it's just like a lively, different drink.
Yeah.
Versus that's not something that's like on a menu, because we didn't really get into that with seasonal menus, but like with coffee shops, we're all kind of like working with the same thing. And so just having a little bit something different, it's always fun. So, and then this is the first time we've done it a couple times. We've made a couple little steps, but we have a drink on the menu called Valade, which is kind of falling into a different category, which is like non-coffee, non-caffeine that we've been doing. And so we've done like herbal tea stuff before that kind of fits that, like in honor of Kirk Cousins, You Like That last summer.
Yep.
Sore subject. But the Valade is something, because we had the matcha toddy and we had a different matcha drink called This Is Not Pudding, where we were doing the same kind of measurements of honey, lemon, and ginger. We were batching it together and like storing it. And I found myself just drinking that with sparkling water.
So that's kind of a concentrate type batch.
Yeah, I mean, it's all
dilute it.
Yeah, it's pretty strong. And so we were diluting it with water and sparkling water, and I was putting like sea salt and cayenne in there, just as like a little remineralizer. And I think you had the idea to add some electrolytes to it, because coffee is demineralizing our bodies, right?
Yeah, dehydrates you.
And
it's I don't know all the full, it's totally just like an Andrew Huberman type revelation. But if you just drink water, you could be missing out on key trace minerals that actually hydrate your body. And coffee, I guess, takes those away, makes you deficient in them. So we're like, how can we, as a company that says the most important thing in our business is the health of our team, how can we ask our team to be constantly drinking something that like depletes their minerals without like, you know, pushing that, like, one, that's a thing that exists, and then two, like allowing for a way to remineralize your body.
Yeah. So when we have different like drink policies, but we made sure that the Valade is free for the team to have every day, just to help kind of build that back up.
Yeah.
So the Valade's on there as well. And it's fun. I was thinking another way we did that was we did the Beautiful Latte a couple of years ago. That was like a drink with collagen and local honey. And, you know, we're rubbing shoulders, brushing shoulders with the health side of things.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it feels good that someone can kind of come into a coffee shop and walk out feeling even better, you know, across the board. Maybe they're caffeinated and hydrated.
Sure.
That's kind of a win.
It's not too bad on the wallet either.
Yeah.
Our wallet.
Yeah.
It's bad on their wallet because if they get 2 seasonal bevies, that they're walking out of there, what, $16?
Hey, but if they just get, you know, a drip or an espresso and a Valade, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah. Which espresso for here, Valade to go.
Come on.
That's a good order.
That's cracked.
That's a good order. You are set up for the day.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. So did you have any other prototypes that you come back to?
Yeah. I mean, we definitely, I've been putting the brakes on the like cold mixture, cold foam thing, but we've done that in many varieties of, you know, some sort of cold brew concentrate or even tea base with like a different fun flavored cold foam. Maybe the most unique of those would be the I'm Zesty and I Know It from last summer, where it was like a cream cold brew concentrate base with a lime agave cold foam on top with lime zest on top.
Yeah.
You know,
what's your thing with agave? Why agave?
Dude, maybe you could help me out because I don't really like, I don't find myself adding agave to that many things, but just when it comes to making drinks, like I'm always playing with different sweeteners.
Yeah.
And it is really good.
It's got a little bit more funk going on than simple syrup.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it's not as like heavy syrupy as simple syrup can be.
Yeah.
And then it's not honey either, because honey has a distinct taste.
Right. Honey
so if you're looking to add some sweetness and it's natural, you know, I guess maybe that's why.
And that's what's hard with seasonal drinks too. You don't want to have like a crazy high number, but I do feel a little bit more freedom to just consider like what would be the tastiest option.
Sure.
But it is like probably 50 cents an ounce, you know, and honey's probably like the honey we get is probably
50 cents an ounce is crazy.
I don't think we're doing like full ounce too often, but
because it's very powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Agave
and honey is very powerful. And so a little goes a long way. But I'm trying to think if definitely if I'm ever in a rut and I can't think about like, oh man, what drink I can do. I think like, what are some cocktails that are epic?
Yeah.
And what's a fun version of that? So I think I'm going to try like an upgraded Paloma again, because we've done the Spro Loma, but I want to see about making like our own grapefruit soda, you know, and see if we can elevate that a little bit.
That's awesome. Yeah. We've done Sprojito, Spro Loma.
Right.
The beat goes on.
Espresso tonic. Take on a gin and tonic.
So let's analyze that a little further. A little while back, I was saying like when you're going to make your first seasonal menu, or you're looking to make your next one, my mind sort of goes 2 places. The first place was what we just talked about, which was what are the different types of drinks, like menu slots, even that you would have on a seasonal menu. By the way, we usually have around 5 or 6 drinks, or four to six. So different different strokes for different folks.
Come
on. So that's the first place my mind went to. The second place is a book called Cocktail Codex, which there's a bar called Death & Co. And if you're into craft cocktails at all, you definitely know what Death & Co. is. I think so. Their original bar was in New York City, and I think they have one in Denver and maybe some more now. But one of the most popular cocktail books is their book called Death & Co. That was like their first book, and it's sort of like a celebration of their bar, and it has a bunch of their recipes and all that. That book had a lot of really complex stuff in it, of like infusions and like hard to find bottles, and so it was huge, like probably their biggest book, because I think it was like one of the first of its kind as far as like a really nerdy cocktail book that people take and they make the drinks at home. But their second book I just think was so genius, because the Cocktail Codex, it is, the whole point of it is that, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So they say, I had ChatGPT summarize a little bit. The authors introduced their unique approach to mixology, arguing that all cocktails stem from 6 fundamental root recipes. And so all cocktails, a myriad of different iterations of different cocktails,
Right.
they all stem from like 6 families or 6 roots. And understanding those roots can help you understand why drinks taste good and like why they work. And then if you understand that, then you can make your own.
Break the rules.
Right. And so this applies to cooking as well. Like if you understand what makes a curry taste good, right, then you can start to make your own and kind of like sub out things and maybe try yuzu instead of lime in there, or whatever
agave
it is.
instead of
Right. And so for them, the 6 different root categories are the old fashioned, the martini, the daiquiri, the sidecar, the whiskey highball, and the flip. Right. And so I could go through like sort of what makes them all different, and I will. Because this is our time.
I would like to do that.
We do that. Well, I think it's really helpful. And what I'd like to do is, as I go through these, maybe it will start to bring up different drinks that you've made over the years and the team has made. And you could be like, oh yeah, that reminds me of this one. And that's, this is how we made it. So the first one, the old fashioned, and their take of this, the old fashioned is spirit, sugar, bitters, and water. So you've got your spirit, which is usually whiskey, rum, or brandy. And then you've got basically like what I like to call like seasoning, or they call it seasoning, but I like how they call it that, where you've got your sugar, which takes away some of the edge and the bite of that spirit. Mm-hmm. And then you've got bitters, which balance with the sweet of the sugar and kind of like season it, like just in the same way that salt would season a dish, right? Yeah. Like it's bland without it. You add it and then it comes alive, right? And then water, in this case, just comes from dilution,
right?
Like when you're diluting the ice. So when you hear that first one, how do you think that applies to making a seasonal menu, and what drinks have you done in the past that are in that category?
Thank you, Ross. Yeah, there's 2 that come to mind right now. And one actually is espresso based, but I think this is like the highlight the coffee in a fun way slot, So maybe we did a cold brew old fashioned this past fall or winter that was I think it was smoked glass, cold brew concentrate, water. We didn't do I couldn't find I had to
the
find
right strength.
Yeah, I had to find the right strength between cold brew and cold brew concentrate. So I just did 2 ounces of cold brew concentrate, 2 ounces of water, simple syrup, orange peel, and bitters.
Yeah.
And it's just a really fun way to have like, black coffee, like
Sure.
non-cream coffee.
So just to park on that one, if you can analyze that alongside this old fashioned slot, again, it says spirit, sugar, bitters, water. The spirit is the cold brew concentrate.
Mm-hmm.
The bitters are the bitters. We had these non-alcoholic bitters, right?
Yeah.
Which, guys, bitters have alcohol. All right. I didn't know that at one point. So when you're making your coffee seasonal menu, just remember that.
You can find non-alcoholic bitters. You just have to dig a little bit.
Any brand? Did you say the brand?
Bab and Louie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you buy that?
A little mom and pop shop called Amazon.
Affiliate link below.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got your spirit, cold brew concentrate, your bitters, which is the bitters, the sugar, which is the simple syrup.
Yep.
The water, which is the water. And then you had the smoked glass and the orange peel.
Yeah.
And I guess like just thinking this with completely noob eyes, I'm like, there's a big difference between using an orange peel on something and expressing the orange peel, which if you don't know, that means you peel the orange peel off of the orange, and then you turn it around backwards. I'm talking backwards, and
skin towards the drink,
and then you squeeze it, and then all the oils go over the.
It's beautiful.
It's really great. So you're using what I was going to say is it's a big difference using an orange peel in that roll versus like adding orange juice. Right? Because it's like, well, we need orange in the drink. Wouldn't orange be so good with this? And it's like, yeah, but you have to use it in the right way.
Yeah.
And that's where understanding these archetypes, these roots comes into play.
Yeah. Maybe taking that further and thinking like, okay, well, if I'm replacing bourbon with cold brew concentrate, bourbon is a little bit more complex. What am I going to do to help the complexity of this drink?
Yeah.
When I am swapping it out with like a really simple cold brew. And that's probably where it's fun. And that's actually what I'll get to my next drink, where you can rely on the coffee to bring more complexity, but using the smoke, using the orange oil from the peel, using like the bitters to help kind of bring out some complexity.
That's good note. Cause you have a really simple base and that way. And before you go on the next one, you talked about hating on espresso in coffee cocktails, right?
Yeah.
And it's very similar with like cocktails where like if you're making an old fashioned, it makes sense that you would use a little bit more of a simple bourbon or whiskey as opposed to like this really expensive, very delicate, nuanced product, because you're just adding all this stuff, right? And so you wouldn't want to, you wouldn't want to mask all of that with your bitters and your sugar and all that. You'd want to just sort of like have whiskey play its part as whiskey, right? Of like it's whiskey tasting whiskey, or it's coffee tasting coffee, right? But what was your second old fashioned example?
Yeah, super simple and similar. Actually, it involves simple syrup, orange peel, and bitters. But we used our Swoon espresso last year, and I mean, I think an old fashioned is typically stirred, but we did like shake the espresso to dilute it with ice, which is sometimes nice when you want to use ice to dilute and chill your hot thing, and then mix that with simple syrup was enough to hit like a little coupe glass, and then do bitters on top, and like a dried fruit.
Nice.
And that has a little less flair to it, but the like base is a little bit more complex, and so it was able to speak for itself a little better. And that kind of gets into a little down a little side road of kind of weighing the options and expectations of a seasonal menu. Like, so this drink was called Spring Cleaning, the Swoon espresso. Yeah.
I remember that drink.
It was good.
Yeah, it was really good.
But I mean, what, 4 ounces?
Right.
And it's just like on the menu. And so you're kind of playing a little bit of a game when you have like fun seasonal menu, check it out. But the more like maybe cocktaily or like complex you get, and then maybe you're hyped on it. Maybe finding ways to be like, hey, this drink's actually like 4 ounces. It's like just espresso. Because especially being in like a to-go heavy culture too.
Yeah.
You're putting a 4 ounce drink into a 12 ounce iced cup that doesn't look as cool.
It's brown.
And someone's like, oh, I paid $7 for this.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh.
And they like drink it with a straw. And they just slurp it right up.
Yeah, and there's a reason like cocktails, you don't just throw them in to-go cups either. It's not a huge part of it is like the presentation, the glass. And so, figuring out if that is right for your like cafe and clientele and how to make sure that the right people are finding that drink, because some people are going to be stoked on it and some people might be like disappointed.
Yeah, the presentation is, the medium's the message. The presentation's huge, right? Of like, If it's like, I'll take a spring cleaning to go, and you give them a to go cup with a straw and a lid, and they slurp it right down. That's so different than putting it in you said you served it in a coupe with a dehydrated citrus of some kind, right? So that's more of a sipping experience. Yeah. And it's a strong drink, so you want to sip it, right? Like it's very different experience, like, chugging an iced lavender vanilla latte. That's not a strong drink. It's a very chuggable.
Crushable.
Even crushable. Okay, so let's move on from old fashioned. This next one, I'm very curious to see if anything comes to mind, because I doubt it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Hit me.
The second one is the martini, which in their view is spirit. It's two things: spirit plus modifier. So a modifier in the case of the martini is vermouth. So you could also put Manhattan in this category, because a Manhattan is, you've got your bourbon or whatever whiskey, and then you're adding sweet vermouth. Whereas a normal martini is gin, or if you're basic, vodka. Dude. And then you add dry vermouth, right? And you can season it from there, which like at that point is an old fashioned, but no, it's not, because in their view, a modifier is like a sherry or a liqueur or a fortified wine, like a vermouth. So you got anything there that's like spirit plus modifier, and that's it? Because martini is like it's like 3 or 4 ounces, right? And it's small and strong. Yeah.
I was like researching some seasonal drinks and seeing what other people are doing, and I was like, I wonder if there is like we don't really mess around with like coffee and tea. I want to be like the tea as the modifier.
Yeah.
I mean, like
stir it and kind of serve it as a martini.
Yeah, but I think too, because we think about value and think about perceived value, I'm like, I really want to make sure there's like at least 3 or 4 like descriptions for this drink versus like espresso and white tea.
Sure.
And you're like, what?
And it's like, trust us, just try it.
I know. Yeah. I would love to like challenge myself and other people on the team to kind of see what we can come up with in that regard.
The problem with that too is that it would just be a cup of brown liquid. It's like you would need a garnish. You'd need something to really elevate it. Okay, well, we can move on from the martini, but I think this is such a great like case in point of like the difference between craft cocktails and coffee cocktails, like for a seasonal menu in a high volume cafe.
Sure,
this is where it really starts to differentiate. The next one is the daiquiri, which is spirit, citrus, sugar. Mm-hmm. You get a lot of miles on this one, right?
Yeah,
they're calling it the daiquiri. I think for reasons that maybe we'll talk about later. But you could also call it like a sour, right? A sour is you got your spirit, your citrus, and your sweet.
Sure.
And we talk about ratios, right? Like the ratio of all of these different ingredients is huge. And they also it's a big part of defining what the drink is. Like let's just crash course of like, if you're making cocktails at home or you're making a seasonal menu for your coffee shop, if you just start with like a 2-1-1 ratio of 2 is spirit, one is citrus, one is sugar of some kind, you're going to be in a pretty good spot, right?
You'll end that all right. Yeah.
And there's different types of spirit. There's different types of citrus. There's different types of sugar. We've talked about that already. So subbing out these different things with the same ratio, like a daiquiri is like, rum, lime juice, sugar, or simple syrup. If you just sub those out and you're like, okay, well, what if we tried whiskey, lemon juice, and sugar? It's like, that's a whiskey sour.
Yep.
But it's the same ratio. So understanding that can help you branch out. But what have we done in the way of daiquiri? I guess mojito would be in that, right?
Yeah, maybe it's a lot more water. It's a bigger drink, but I also think Valerita last summer. I don't know if margarita would fall in the daiquiri family.
Margarita is actually in the next category. But for the purposes of, so let me just lump these two in because I think they're very similar. So the next one is the sidecar.
Okay.
Which is spirit, citrus, liqueur. So you can see how a margarita would be that, because a margarita is tequila, lime, and then orange liqueur, right?
Yeah.
So margarita is actually in the sidecar category, but we can lump those together for the purposes of making a coffee seasonal menu, because you still have spirit, citrus, sweet.
Yeah.
Because the liqueur is sweet, but it's more complex.
Yeah, I wonder what's like the most coffee equivalent to like liqueur.
Right.
It seems what we're running into with the martini. The Valerita was just iced green tea, honey, lime, mint, and like a tahini rim, And so
that was good.
It's good.
And we did the table service batch.
You could get one, or you could get a pitcher for the table.
The pitcher of margaritas.
Yeah, and so we'd send out 4 rimmed cups with ice in them, and then a pitcher of the Valerita.
Yeah,
that was a highly crushable drink. Maybe another one, I think around the same time, maybe in the summer, was the King Julian, which was, and maybe this is similar, but matcha, lime, orange juice, orgeat, and orange slice on top.
It's like a Mai Tai.
Yeah. And that was really epic. So yeah, maybe this Rojito is a good example of like a coffee one, but I feel like we definitely lean on like tea. Maybe even like the Lovely Day is kind of in that too. It's like your base, a sweet, a sugar, something,
A sweet, a sour. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you take the Spro Loma, what are the ingredients in that?
It'd probably be cold brew concentrate, or it'd be fun to try it. This would be kind of crazy, but like Tan Lines espresso, maybe try to lean on a more like vibrant coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Lime juice, grapefruit soda. And then, I would think that the grapefruit soda would bring enough sweet to represent like the water and the sugar.
Yep.
And then you get the acid from the lime, or try a different citrus. Yuzu could,
or agave.
Oh yeah, we'll try agave. And then I don't know. Is it usually just garnished with anything?
It's like a Paloma. It's probably similar to margarita. Like you could do a salt rim or a rim of some kind in that kind of realm of margarita. What one other just tip that came to mind here is when you're making your seasonal menu, you're making these drinks, playing with bubbles and effervescence, that can add so much to a drink.
Mm-hmm.
It really adds to like the tactile, the feel of a drink. And when you do that, you should not shake it. Like, don't shake bubbles because it will explode.
Good.
It's a safety warning.
You've been warned.
But a way that you could do that is like with a Paloma, you can just kind of build a Paloma in a glass, and it's kind of do it poor man style, just kind of throw it in the glass, top it off, ice, boom, boom, boom. But another way you could do it is like we haven't even mentioned like cocktail tins and like how much we use those, and how valuable that is. But you add your base to the cocktail tin, which would be maybe Tan Lines espresso. Let's go with that.
Yep.
And then you got your citrus, and then maybe you do sweet, but maybe you just let the grapefruit soda accomplish that. You can shake that, strain that over service ice in the glass that you'll serve the drink in. When I say service ice, I just mean fresh ice instead of the ice that you use to shook it. And then you glug top that with the soda. That's
Really?
the right way to.
I would think that you'd put the mixture over the soda.
Either way.
Okay.
Either way.
A personal coffee tip is that coffee and matcha can react to bubbles.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of crazy sometimes.
That's real.
And so we find ourselves kind of getting everything ready in our tins and then putting it over like the cup ready to go with the fresh ice with the bubbles right there.
Yeah.
And then hitting it with the garnish. But yeah, what he was saying, I think is a really important key is like if you're going to shake anything, straining out that dirty ice that's like on its way out and putting it over fresh ice is such a game changer. And if you can properly strain it, that's where it gets a little tricky with the high volume is like what counts as a clean strain, because we have the little strainers that go over top of the tin and then you can pour out.
Hawthorne strainer.
But if you're a real one, you would pour it over a fine mesh strainer and let it go into the cup. Yeah,
I guess, if you're using a fine mesh strainer with a high volume drink, then, if you're only using that and not the Hawthorne strainer, then it's like that fine mesh is going to fill up with ice and it's going to like overflow. But I think we'll come back to fine mesh in a second because it relates to one of these drinks.
You're in your element, bro.
I'm not even into cocktails anymore, but I'm getting back into it right now.
In this live moment.
So the next drink, I know the next two are going to hit hard for you. The next one is highball.
Yeah.
The highball, which is spirit plus effervescence.
Ooh.
So, like gin and tonic would be in this, or like, again, for all you basic people, like vodka soda or like vodka cranberry, go to the club, get a vodka cran.
Where are we at on that? Come on.
So spirit plus effervescence. What if this is just because you add soda to something or effervescence, maybe like a mojito, doesn't make it a highball. Like if you've ever had a true whiskey highball, did you have a whiskey highball when you were in Japan, perchance?
Many times, yeah.
And so they typically use like a Japanese whiskey and soda water, like mineral soda water, and then that's it.
And like maybe lemon.
Yeah, sometimes they'll do like a seasoning like that, but it's not like the whole point is like it's just whiskey soda basically, you know.
Yeah.
And it's really just a highlight on the taste of the whiskey. But in our case, I'm trying to think when we've done like a true highball.
I don't know, bro. I'm really having a hard time thinking about like something once again, kind of similar to the martini. I feel like we're getting back to this like 2-ingredient thing.
The 2-ingredient
that we don't really mess around with.
Sure. Well, we've done sodas, right? Like the drink my girls love. What is that one?
Oh, the holiday Hoobie Wuddy?
Yeah. Or Hoobie Lovey.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's had iterations.
Like, I want Hoobie Wubby.
Hoobie Wubby. Yeah. We found these epic Traverse City whiskey cherries that are like just the best cocktail cherries I've ever had.
They're good.
And hitting that with like a little bit of juniper, hitting that with a little bit of yuzu, believe it or not, hitting that with a little lavender vanilla syrup, mixing that up in a tin, and then getting your effervescence ready and pouring that over. And then people can kind of upgrade it with matcha or cold brew concentrate.
Yeah.
Or even some people, Zion, his favorite thing is adding like 4 ounces of nitro cold brew to kind of like round it out, make it like a 16-ounce drink.
Wow.
But it's like a kid-friendly drink too. It's like the most bougie Shirley Temple you'll have.
So I guess that's not a highball, but it's like a soda, like literally like Sprite. You're remaking a craft soda.
Yeah, and we've done we tried to do like a butterfly pea flower soda. We tried to like keg it too. That was crazy.
Oh yeah.
We kegged it with lavender vanilla and the tea and just like sparkling water. And that was like another soda run.
We never did a matcha highball of any kind.
Oh, it sounds
familiar, but maybe a long time ago.
Yeah.
Because I think that one, really what we're getting at here is like,
oh, well, we had the matcha garden. That would be the closest equivalent.
Yes.
And that was due to your wife.
Yes.
Who's always health conscious. Said, the matcha rose garden, it's good, but it's, a lot of sugar.
Like 40 grams of sugar in there.
And so we carry this local sparkling water, Montaigne's. They have a cucumber lime flavor.
Yeah.
And she was like, just pour that over ice and put a matcha on top. And it's fire. It's really good. It is like not sweet at all, so it's like really grassy and herbaceous. But honestly, like it makes me want to play with cucumber more in like a tea drink.
Yeah.
Maybe a little salt and pepper too.
How do they get that cucumber taste so prevalent in that soda?
Flavors and natural flavors are a really interesting conversation.
Natural flavor, yeah.
Yeah, what is that?
Who even knows what that means?
Who knows? Could be up. The beaver butt.
Highball, we kind of hijacked that a little bit towards just like soda, except in the case of this matcha garden, which is a really great drink. Matcha and then this cucumber lime.
Once again, something you got to watch out for if you put that on the menu. It's like, this drink's not sweet,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times the average coffee shop goer looks at the seasonal menu for like a treat, like a fun drink.
Sure.
And if you're going to put something a little more daring in there, try to make it clear, That
one's like a good, like when Rachel drank it was like a good, like low sugar daily driver.
Yeah.
It's like a nice sipper to walk
just
around
matcha.
with. Okay. Last one. This one's fun. The flip.
Something you fought for.
Yeah. Yeah. The flip is spirit plus rich ingredient plus sweetener. Okay.
Now we're talking coffee right there.
This is like the most classic coffee cocktail is the espresso martini.
Espresso martini.
That's a flip, right? Okay. So when it says spirit, it's like, we've already covered that. The rich ingredient would be something like cream, like heavy cream, or some sort of dairy, whatever that looks like. Whole eggs. That's like the most traditional flip is some sort of like we're saying, maybe like a sherry. You ever had a sherry flip?
I don't know.
I gotta make you a sherry flip. It's so good.
You gotta grill me up a steak too.
Okay. Jeez.
This guy makes the best steak. Sorry, Riley.
I'm sure Riley would beat me. So you got your spirit, and then you do a whole egg.
Whew.
And then you
shell
hit that
and all.
Some. That's when you need the fine mesh, right? To get all those shells
to the
out.
fine mesh.
Anyways, so what are some flips that we've done over the years?
I'm trying to think of their names. I think we literally just call it like the Valor House Flip.
Yeah.
Which was yeah, I think we had that, and then this past winter we had the espresso martini.
Yeah.
Which was so cringy for so many people. They're like, some people would just order it and they're like, espresso martini.
That's how you say it. Espresso martini.
Other people are like, I can't say espresso.
Which that's just the perfect reaction on both sides.
It's like a
10 out of 10.
It's just a dig across the board, which we don't like play naughty too often. So I thought that was fun.
That was nice. Right on the edge.
Right on the edge. But we would do cold brew concentrate. I think I bounced around between heavy cream and half and half. I was doing half and half, I think. And then egg white. Sorry.
You did egg white.
For the espresso martini, we did egg white. For the Valor House Flip a year ago, we did aquafaba. Which is chickpea powder, basically. And we like made a syrup with the chickpea powder.
Yeah.
And it held up pretty well. It honestly tasted kind of good. It was like kind of honey flavor.
Yeah. So aquafaba has a flavor.
If you're just drinking it by itself,
you'd be maybe a psychopath.
but it's just like when you're making it and you're like smelling it and you're like, pinky falls in. It has this like kind of rich, like honey nutty thing.
Okay, cool.
Which is not bad. Cold brew concentrate, aquafaba, half and half, and then like a sweet. I think I think both times I ended up with lavender vanilla. I was trying to do like mocha or something different, but I was like, I don't know why. It just was totally working with the vanilla.
It's probably just the vanilla.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then the first one we did like a nutmeg cocoa garnish. And if you use powdered nutmeg, that's fine, but I just can't express how much I love freshly grated nutmeg.
The difference is palpable.
The difference may shock you.
Yeah.
For your chais, for your fun drinks, it's
easy too.
Yeah. You just
done.
Or like if you're really about it, you know. And then the other one we did orange zest and white chocolate grating on top, and that was really nice.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you got your flips, you like a traditional flip with like sherry, maybe maple syrup, whole egg. Shake the mess out of it. Like shake it really hard.
You gotta break the yolk.
Because you gotta break the yolk. And then when you're shaking, you're doing two things, right? You're agitating, but you're also diluting.
Right.
And so when you agitate an egg white or a whole egg or aquafaba, what you get is this really silky, almost like steamed milk texture or cold foam. Really, it's the cold foam thing.
It's a cold foam effect.
And so you strain that, and this is back to the fine mesh strainer. If you strain that drink over a fine mesh, it just gets even more silky. And it also takes away all of the little particulates in there of like little ice chips that like when you take your first sip, it's just pure silk instead of maybe like a stray ice chip, or maybe you had some sort of other like coarse ingredient in there.
Shoot.
And so when you have that really like cold foam-esque top, there's opportunity for the garnish to really pop. And there's opportunity for bitters to go on top with cool designs. So, you know, if you've got like a dark colored bitter, like in cocktail world, it would be Angostura bitters, which are like a kind of a dark amber color. You do a dropper, you drop little drops on this silky top, and then you can
your base,
and then you kind of draw through it, and you can draw little hearts in there. But then it adds that aromatic element too on the top,
right?
Because you've got bitters on the top. So lots of cool visual, tactile, aromatic taste opportunities with the flip.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of fun things to play with, but it's a couple steps.
Yes.
When we're talking about drinks that come in a rush and you're like,
Saturday morning, you got 4 flips.
Someone's like, oh, that looks good. Oh, give me one too. Oh, I'll try it too. I guess we'll just do like 5 flips. And you're like, gah.
So that is a great segue into, we've talked about execution. We'll end with this. Unless you had something else.
We're going to bring the band up for this.
So go ahead and bring those keys up. So execution of all this, it's cool to have a nice idea. It's cool to have, you know, a US barista championship level cocktail. But what are some execution hacks? You know, like we talked about the importance of it, but what are some hacks? Like ones that come to mind for me are batching.
Right.
So in what situation, like I think specifically of the Sprojito.
Yep.
If you were to like, mojito is a really time consuming drink to make, right? Because you're dealing with mint leaves. That's mainly why, really, because like you're muddling them but how, like what are some things you've done to make these drinks more efficient?
Yeah, it's a really fine line, right? Because like, how do I not make it worse / that much worse?
Because it's always gonna, kind of almost always gonna be a little bit worse when you batch citrus, especially. And
we've gone back and forth. We've juiced limes. We've done juice. Like we've just gotten organic bottled juice, and that's a sore subject, not sore subject, but that's a hot topic, I'd say. And so, you know, depending on the drink that you have, I think it's always fun to, especially in R&D, do side by sides and figure out like, okay, what should I fight for? What should be the cost, and what should be like the cut, or like what should be the compromise?
Yeah.
Because maybe dissimilar to a cocktail bar. We're probably, I don't know, we're doing other things, but we're trying to serve people really quickly.
Yeah.
But if you go to a high-end coffee or cocktail bar, you're there for the thing. You're sitting for the thing.
Yeah, you're right. You're sitting at the bar.
Yeah.
As opposed to work counter service.
You're watching them work. And so we're trying to get people in and out well. This is more of a touchy, soft side of things, but I would say, honestly, team buy-in and interest is your foundational key. And
you don't want your team rolling their eyes whenever a drink comes through.
Yeah, I come in with my scroll of all these ingredients and to-do lists and things because I came up with the seasonal menu. It's as collaborative as you can be, I think we do a pretty good job of anybody can send me an idea. Anybody can pitch something, and then it'll kind of be on me with the team in mind to build out the specs.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a good way to get everybody on board, but then also take time to refine and understand what is needed. How can I source this thing? You know, Savvy really wants something with rhubarb. And I'm how I gotta track down rhubarb,
reliably, consistently.
Reliably. I can't just go to a farmer's market, or maybe I can, but so building that out, I think batching anything. So, I was talking about the yuzu agave thing and we're it's the exact same portions for both of our drinks right now that use yuzu and agave. We definitely should mix those up.
Yeah.
And batch that, And
you put in a little gallon pitcher, put in the fridge.
That one, because it's maybe it gets a little less miles, we'll just build it in 750s. And we're speaking on that. We really like having actually they're 800 milliliter bottles. They're from Crew, I think, Crew Supply Co.
Yeah, I saw y'all get some new bottles.
And they have nice speed pours. And so we're measuring things out that way, building things in tins. But the Valade, there is a world where you have honey in a bottle, you have lemon juice in a bottle, you have ginger juice in a bottle, and you portion it out. But if you're thinking about it, it's what if we just put it all together and put it in the fridge? Does that make it worse? I don't think so.
Yeah.
And then so that when someone orders a Valade, it's okay, I just need 90 grams of the mixture and I need to pour that over sparkling water.
Yep.
Done.
You think about bottle touches?
Yeah, we talked about that. And that's probably where stuff maybe the flip comes in too. That takes a lot is cold brew concentrate needs to be separated. The syrup needs to be separated. The egg white. I don't feel super comfortable mixing egg white. With this stuff and putting it in the fridge. Just
separate and settle and maybe get
so
weird. That's
where it gets a little hard. If you're up to 3 or 4 bottle touches for a drink, it's it's gonna take a second.
Seems like you want to never go above 3
touches. Yeah,
by and large.
Yeah, and so that's when it also comes into how many drinks you want to have on your menu, because how much space do you have in your fridge for more little batched up things. But team buy-in, batching as much as you can, making sure that you're sustainably, scalably sourcing your ingredients, because it's easy to get hyped on something and be oh, it's already sold out. Oh, I only got that one time.
Right.
Funny enough, totally contrary to that, one of our guests goes and buys lime leaf by his house and brings it to us right now.
Sure. Well, you have those moments.
Which is just fun.
Yeah.
I'm because I was literally going to do rosemary or mint or something I could buy from the store. And this guy, Julian's a cocktail master. And he was dude, lime leaf. And I was yeah.
I got to try this then.
Yeah.
Maybe we go to the cafe after this, get some, what are they called?
Lovely Days.
Lovely Days. Bill Withers playing in the background.
That's right.
What do you say?
That's right. You got anything else on your mind about this? About any tips for coffee shop?
Well, I had a question I wanted to pose to you that's just sort of about the reality of the seasonal menu in our coffee shop. If you had to put a number on it, what is the ratio of for here versus to go on the seasonal menu? 60-40, 80-20.
Sure. It depends on the cafe. Dunwoody, bigger space, probably like, 70%, maybe 60% for here, and then 40% to go. And then maybe flip flop that for Alpharetta. Maybe 40% of it for here. Maybe 30 or 20, 25
For here.
Jeez. I mean, when the patio opens up, you got a world of options there, but Alpharetta, just a bustling hub, people getting stuff to go. And maybe that does affect how, like, what I'm considering on like a drink,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because if I'm going to put a small guy on the menu, I'm pretty much going to try to have I'll try to balance that out with other like 12 to 16 ounce things. And that's hard because it's like, how are you going to fill that thing up? Because if you're trying to make something complex, it's like, it usually needs to be a little stronger. Right.
Right.
So like a complex iced latte just doesn't sound like something I want to drink 16 ounces of.
Yeah. And prices on these drinks, give us a range.
I don't think we've gone past 9, maybe like 8. We have a popular drink, the Valor House Deluxe in the fall. That's like, and this is honestly one of the few drinks that's like a hot latte-esque, but it's basically like, we call it spicy milk. So we just add like 2 ounces of chai to our milk. And then we're putting that over like a fall spice espresso base. And then we're doing we're doing nutmeg garnish and like orange peel.
Yeah.
And so, but honestly, like chai is pretty expensive. So the 2 ounces goes a long way. And it's probably one of the best drinks ever, which is funny.
And that was our first drink.
Yeah. It's gone through little refinements, but it's been
the same core.
Yeah. It's held steady. It just held
Last
steady.
thing I want to get your opinion on, and this is maybe a hot take. I put this at the end of the podcast for a reason, because not many people are listening now. Just kidding. I think I've heard, and I whenever I first started making cocktails and doing this sort of thing, one of the misconceptions I had, and something I hear other people say as well, is when they're looking to mix ingredients together, they're like, oh, this espresso has like a lime note to it, so let's add lime to the drink. Or like, let's it's almost just like they correlate a flavor in one ingredient, and they think that like every other ingredient has to be that too. I don't know if you've ever come across this, but like, it's actually the opposite. Like, the reason why these drinks work, just take the old fashioned, for example, right? Actually, no, take the daiquiri for an example. Your spirit, your citrus, your sugar. Those are 3 very different flavored items, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's less about like accenting these flavors and like really emphasizing, and more about balancing the ingredients you have with other ingredients that are unlike them.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that like if you had a cold brew concentrate that was like infused with chamomile or something, like, and you wanted to add chamomile tea to that, that's awesome. That's cool. It's just like, I think it helps people understand that it's way more about balancing ingredients with drinks than it is about just like adding more stuff to the cup and like making sure that it's all the same flavor profile. I don't know if that stirs anything up in you, but that's something that I've just noticed over the years.
Well, that's probably one of the most helpful times in building out the seasonal menu is giving you the drinks and you being like, you need to complement it with this, or you need to like hit it with this. Like it's good. Yeah. It's like, it's cohesive and sweet, but like it needs a bite. It needs a spice. It needs an herb, So I feel like you always have that balancing, like something kind of not contrasting, but like hitting it. So it balances out, which is always really helpful.
Yeah. We play with like spice too, of like, oh, that needs a kick. There's a bunch of different types of kicks. Citrus is kick.
Yeah.
Spicy, like cayenne is kick. Like hot honey is sick.
Yeah.
I would love to see you play with some hot honey if you haven't already.
We've only done one, the Spice is Right.
Oh, that's right.
And it was like a hot honey, cold brew, concentrate, milk thing with like a little cold foam on top.
Wild.
Yeah.
But it was good.
It was good.
I remember that one.
Yeah, it was good.
Anyways, that all felt like a little bit scattered, but I think try to keep it as structured as possible with the different types of drinks, the different, actual execution of these things, knowing that in especially in the case of our smaller cafe, only 25-30% just off the top of your head, of course, of the drinks are for here.
Yeah.
Right. So before we run away with our presentation nerdery, you got to actually think about like what's really going to happen to these drinks.
Yeah.
And how much we charge goes into that as well.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, like considering how much time this requires too is an interesting thing. Like maybe if you're like a sole owner and you want to do something like this a little bit more, it's like maybe don't have 4 to 6, have 1 to 2 or 1.
Yeah.
And you like have your standard stuff, but you're like, you have bandwidth to like do a couple things,
Right. Oh, I'd love to hear anyone in the comments, like when you've been running coffee shops or managing or opening your own, what are some like Hall of Fame go-to classic drinks for us? The last thing, Tokyo Drift.
It didn't get talked about, but yeah,
we're a little bit eye roll about it because it's like it's just a cortado that's like seasoned a little bit.
Yeah,
right?
Smoked glass, orange blossom, nutmeg, orange peel. It's got a few steps, but
it's got some stuff.
It's
but
a flavored cortado at the end of the day.
Okay, just thought of this. That's a hot drink. That also helps it being smaller.
Right.
Because like if that was a cold drink, you could crush that thing in 2 sips.
And people do order it cold. And then they drink it in 2 sips.
But because it's hot, they drink it slower, which means it can be a smaller drink. But Tokyo Drift, that's got to be like in the top 3 most like drinks that we're known for on the seasonal.
Yeah. Yeah. That one, House Deluxe.
Sprojito was so huge for a while.
Sprojito was big. And then you just got like normie stuff that like a peppermint matcha called like the thick mint.
Yeah.
People talk about it. Orange blossom syrup. People just talk about it.
Yeah.
And then you got like a fun non-coffee thing when we did that like really thick ghost cider, apple cider concentrate.
That was so expensive to make.
Apple juice concentrate and like sweetened condensed coconut milk.
Yeah.
Woo.
That was good though.
It was good. And we always ran out because it was hard to source too. That's another thing. It's like, if you can only serve it for
it's a balancing
3
act.
days out of the week because you're waiting, then you're upping your time. But my one of my favorites was My Name's Not Rick. We did like a turmeric ginger concentrate and then a pear maple like compote with a little bit of oat milk. Woo!
Compote like solids at the bottom of the drink,
like blended pear, like a pear.
But it's like a nice like jelly at the bottom. Almost.
It was thick.
Wow, that's cool.
Done some fun stuff.
This has been a podcast.
Yeah, we did it.
And we need to cut ourselves off.
This is something we do all the time is talk about this kind of stuff. So, it's not pretty. It's honest. It's raw. It's real. So thank you for sitting down with us.
Goodbye.
Bye.